meeting to order, and the first item of business is roll call, please.
Okay. Mrs. Root?
Here.
Mr. Barnes?
I'm here.
Mr. Curran?
No seat for me, but I'm here.
Mr. Sear?
Here.
Mrs. Hanchett?
We don't have
Here.
enough
Mr.
chairs.
Healy?
Here.
Mr.
So the
Ricky?
last person
Here.
up has to sit
Mr.
at
Rick,
his desk.
Mrs. Ricketts Wales?
Here.
And Mr. Stockin? 8 present.
Okay, the next item we have is the approval of the April 20th minutes, and I would entertain a motion to approve those.
Curran moves.
Do we have a second?
Hanchett, seconds.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, the next item we have is Rita Sobek Lynch. I don't believe Rita's going to be, Rita, there you are, okay. I didn't see you come in. So Rita has her monthly report, and is there something you would like to highlight on that, Rita, for us today?
We've been fairly steady as far as business goes in our front door traffic. Where we're working right now is the Summer Youth Employment Program. So we have 110 applications of youth throughout Allegheny County. And hopefully we can place maybe like 60 or 65 of those youth throughout the county this summer. They work 28 to 35 hours a week for 4 to 6 weeks. It could be a business or a not-for-profit. So if anybody's looking for an intern this summer, let me know. We'll put you on the list. The other big deal we have going on is a job fair. We're partnering with the Chamber of Commerce in Wellsville and the David A. Howe Public Library to offer a job fair on Wednesday, July 8th, and June 8th. And so we have 30 businesses now, and so we filled the library to its capacity. So now we're looking for job seekers. So those are the most exciting things happening right now.
I want to go back to the summer employment. So any business who's looking for part-time, basically the 28 to 30, they should contact your office?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you go over the criteria for that briefly, for those,
This is-
placing those interns, or?
The Summer Youth Employment Program is, we contracted with the Department of Social Services, and they receive TANF money for that. So that's temporary assistance for needy families. So there are several different criteria for eligibility that a youth has to meet. So we're looking at the income of the family and the size of the family and how many, if they're receiving any kind of services such as SNAP or Medicaid or something like that, that helps qualify them for the program.
Well, how about, though, I meant the, where they go to work, the
Where they go to work?
locations, work sites there, can,
Okay,
so
we have-
people out there might know if they have any interest.
Okay. We actually contracted with the work sites as well, but the summer youth that are working are actually employees of Allegheny County. So they're covered by our workers' comp and all of our insurance, which is a nice incentive for businesses to take a youth. And we work very closely with Heather Beto to make sure that everybody's placed where they're appropriately.
And criteria for the businesses, though, that's,
Well, we can't, and this goes for our year-round worksite program too, we can't replace a current employee. So this is in addition to the staff they already have. So no one would be laid off, so the summer youth could work there. And a lot of places, the schools take the youth. So like Canasarega, there's not a lot of opportunities out there for students. So a lot of them are placed at the school. We try not to just put them all into cleaning positions throughout the county. We'd like them, maybe if they have sort of a career in mind, we would like to place them in those businesses as well.
and that's the only restriction, so there's not just nonprofits or anything. It's
Yeah, it could be a
any business.
restaurant, sure.
Does anybody else have any questions for
Oh,
Rita?
I have a question on the job fair. Is it primarily Wellsville businesses?
No, it's Allegheny County businesses.
So, just out of curiosity, why is it located in Wellsville? Is that just because you had the space, or?
Well, we've partnered with the library in the past, so we're working with the Southern Tier Library System.
Okay.
And so when we were talking about doing it again this year, this is the date that came up.
Okay.
The nice thing about the library is they have all the tables, they have all the chairs, and they set it all up. Our office really doesn't have the staff to do that, so it's nice to partner with the library. But we could actually have a job fair anywhere.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Rita, maybe a month ago, I'm trying to think, you had sent your listing of jobs. There's,
Yes.
what do you call that?
The job board.
And there was about 400 open jobs on that. Have you seen that increase, decline since the last time? I think it's been a month since you sent it out.
It has declined since then. Positions have been filled.
Okay. So businesses are finding people to fill some of their empty positions?
They are.
Well, that's encouraging.
And our job board has been really popular. We have, I think, at this time, there are over 90 subscribers to that. So we do that main job list in the beginning of every month, and then every Monday, we update it with any new listings that there have been. So that's been helpful.
Yeah.
And
Yep,
people are
thank you.
finding employment.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Thank you.
One other thing, Rita, I'd like to compliment you and your department for your continued outreach to veterans and providing them those necessary services. I know you're doing an outstanding job on that front, and thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions for Rita? If not, thank you very much,
All right.
Rita.
Thank you very much.
Next up is Keir Durham, Planning Director. He sent us his monthly report. Keir, I'm going to ask you if there's anything you want to just touch on, highlight, and then open it up for questions.
Somebody turned it off. I gave out a brochure on your desk, the Scenic Drives brochure. That was completed last fall, actually, the first draft. And we went through the entire print that we had done already on that. So we got another round of, I believe, 10,000 copies of that. And I don't think we had actually brought that to the group. So I just wanted you to get a copy of that so you knew that was available. We're looking at a couple more brochures like that. They're quite cost effective to get more prints of. Despite the cost of paper and printing right now, they're still more cost effective to do those. So we're looking at some other topics like that. So there should be more coming out. The County Planning Board is meeting tonight, 7 o'clock at the Crossroads Center. It's the same Zoom link it always is, but if somebody needs it, they can send me an email and I will copy it over to you. We just learned today that Empire State Development is going to plan to come down on June 10th to do a session related to grants for the consolidated funding applications with our stakeholders, so towns, villages, other not-for-profits, whatever, that want to apply. That'll be June 10th from 1 to 3 out at our building. And as soon as I get the press release from Buffalo, then I'll be kicking that out. That just happened this morning. The hazard mitigation project is in full swing. We started meeting monthly with the team. We met with the Highway Association, Highway Superintendents Association last week, and started the process with them. And we are intending to have kickoff quadrant meetings. Each part of the county will be invited to come to sessions in June and work through a lot of the forms that are required. We're talking about inviting the highway superintendents and the town supervisors, the mayors, and the clerks to those sessions. We may break it up if it gets too unwieldy into a couple of different sessions, but we're going to take a stab at that, probably looking the second, third, maybe the fourth week of June. So those will be going out. We're still awaiting notification if we got the previous grant that was applied for back in the fall. And as you had approved the application for funding at the meeting last week, we are putting together the application for the same kind of funding, but for the same project. But in case we don't get the first batch of funds, this would offset that loss. So that's due by June 1st. We're in the last month of our efforts with the Wild Souls campaign. The videos, Wild Places, Wild Souls. We've expended the funds that we had available for this campaign up till now. We need to look at how to fund it further and what else we want to do with our marketing funds. We may be coming to you in the coming months to do a transfer in the development office funds to cover this or other marketing things, but we're not quite ready for that today, so did not bring that today. I'd like to compliment Steve Havey on his session yesterday with the chamber, working with the Small Business Administration and many other groups came together. They had a really nice turnout down there at the Crossroads. A lot of businesses were there. I wasn't actually in there, but we helped them do a little promotion. And I just thought that was a nice event and well attended. And it seemed like people were having some really good conversations afterward also, which is quite often where you get the real work done when you start, making those connections. We have
Mr.
processed,
Derlin,
sir.
could you tell us how many people attended the event?
I would have to lean to you. I'd say about 25 or so.
I counted 20 businesses, not including the presenters.
So that's a good turnout. I believe Accord was there, and I believe Craig may have spoken, and I'm not sure who else was on the agenda.
Small Business Association spoke. Jamestown Community College Business Center spoke. The Accord Business Center spoke. We had a representative from the Better Business Bureau who spoke.
Score did Brian talk? Score?
Yep, SCORE was there, thank you. It was a cast of thousands. It was a good,
Incubator
it was a good
Works.
time.
Yeah, there was a lot of speakers, but there was also good attendance. It's been a while since we've been able to even talk about having a session like that. So, I mean, you're back to 2019, really, early 2020 probably, since last time you could have anything like that. Tourism guides. We took the attitude when they were coming in from the printer said, well, we could ship them directly to warehouses and save you having to repackage and retransfer. So we took them up on that. And so we really felt that it was more important with the limited number of guides to have them out, the first batch out to places not in Allegheny County. And so we're getting requests, and you may hear this request, how come I don't have any guides at my shop? And the reason is because I sent thousands to Western Pennsylvania to 40 different locations, another thousands to the Buffalo market, another thousands to the Rochester market, Syracuse market, Chautauqua, Cattaraugus. So we blanketed the western part of the state and the western part of Pennsylvania with our guides. And so that was the initial plan. We have an order in play right now out of this year's budget to get another batch coming in the next few weeks. So we will have more guides for everything in-house, but getting it out to all these other locations, the whole point of tourism is to drive people here, not necessarily once they're here. So they will get them, but they're not here yet. So that's sort of the situation with that. So yeah, we sent out over 24,000 guides to all these warehouses to be distributed at probably at least a couple hundred distribution points. Wanted to make that clear because I am getting requests, where's my guides? And it's a challenge. The travel trailer, the tourism trailer, is getting a new wrap on it at the end of the month, beginning of June, to be updated to the Western New York Wilds branding, the Western New York Wilds website, and so that'll look nice. And the good news in the office is, well, we're still feeling the heat. We interviewed and filled the planning and development specialist and the associate planner positions. So we almost doubled our staff in a week. So we welcome Stacy Beardsley as the planning and development specialist. She's from the Fillmore Hume area, and Mandy Joyce Phelps is the associate planner, and she's from the Andover area. And we also have, during that process, we were able to find an intern candidate who just graduated from University of Buffalo with a planning degree and needs some experience, and they're starting at the end of the month. So we're going to get a little help finally. So
Kira, are you having any luck finding the tourism ambassadors?
well, I can't act on it because you guys still have to officially approve it at the
Board meeting?
board meeting. So
Okay.
I've been hung up waiting for that process. It would be something that I think that this board should talk about in the future, not just for me, but all these positions. This 6 to 7 week process of approving these things is not helpful. So if there's any way to change the system, feel free, because this is, I haven't been able to act on anything with this current setup. I do have some people who have called me, written me notes, sent me Facebook messages saying, ooh, I'd like to be it. So I think I won't have a hard time filling the positions, but I can't act on it currently. So that's where I stand, and we're going forward anyway.
Okay. I have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
I want to go back to the grants, your section on grants.
Yep.
Can you go into a little more detail on the grant, what type of grants the Village of Cuba is looking, that you're helping them? What type of grants are
I
they
believe
looking
it's
for?
a Main Street project with some owners to update some of the Main Street buildings. We're just in the preliminary discussion with them. They're going to be working with our consultant, Rotella Grants, who we've used on and off for probably 5-6 years. We're also in discussion with 2 other firms about providing grant writing services on an as-needed basis, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what they've got available to back us up, because right now, we don't have the staff for that. So
Yeah, I
Mr.
have a
Fenton?
question. Kira and I have discussed this. As our time is involved in the grant writing and whatever we do for the towns and villages, are we going to try to keep track of our hours that are involved so we could actually bill them for our time?
well, that would be your decision. My opinion is you shouldn't get wrapped up in that. It's to the benefit of the whole county to help the towns and villages with their projects and get them to move forward on things. But if you, at some point, choose to actually back charge towns and villages for services, then we can figure out a method to that. But right now, no, we don't track all these sub-projects that way. So we haven't been doing that. We have some funds allocated that in the budget to assist them with grant writing. And so we make those available if needed with the consultant.
I think we
Well, I
have a
guess
comment.
my concern is that, if we're doing it for one and you end up with it being a process that you're going to really get involved with a number of different towns, I think it's something that we need to track and keep an eye on what.
Mr. Fanton, I
what
think
we're
we have a
spending.
comment from our attorney in the back.
I just want to caution the board that when it comes to grant writing, if you are assisting any municipality with a project that is grant funded by the federal government or the state government, sometimes there are requirements in those agreements that dictate how you track the hours that you work, and you may have to track all the time that you would spend with the grant writing part. So you have to look at the contracts carefully that you may be associated with the projects that you're working on with the municipalities. So putting forward a blanket decision of any sort may not be the most advantageous thing to do.
So here's a question.
Right now, we don't
What-
actually, usually what we do is we act as a matchmaker more than anything. To the village or the town says, we have a need, we want to write a grant, we don't know how to do that. How do we do that? We ask them some basic questions, and then we connect them with the appropriate folks, consultants out there. We don't really, currently have the staff to manage or provide admin, time and stuff. So we don't do that part of it currently.
Mrs. Burdick.
It's always been my understanding that that was part of the program where instead of sharing sales tax, that was one of the things the county did provide to the municipalities. So to now say you're going to charge them, I think would be wrong.
I believe you had a question, Chair, but I was on a roll. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Well, I guess, I think this is something that we probably need to have a bigger discussion on moving forward on the role that your department is playing with the towns and villages. I guess it's, but so you're not actually going out and applying for the grants?
Nope.
You're just trying to match make and help them find where and then you're working with a grant writing company. Who pays for that? The towns and villages are paying
We're
for
doing
that?
a shared situation. They do some and we do some.
So my question is, when we do any other grant writing here, we have to get an approval to accept any grant. Will all of these grants that we're working with the towns and villages have to run through this process for approval?
Well,
If we're
not
involved in it?
We're not applying, so it's not our,
But you were just saying you were helping to apply for them, so are you not a
we help
part of
them
that?
with the consultant cost, not with we don't,
Okay.
we're not applying for the funds, we're not administrating the funds.
Okay,
Usually we have nothing to do with it after they say we want to do it, and we make sure that they have the resources available.
okay. I have another question for you, to do with grants. You say you're researching grant opportunities. Can you expand on that? What type of grant opportunities? Is it for more towns and villages, or for the county, for planning, for development? What type of grant opportunities?
Yes. We're just at the beginning of this with these two new staffers starting. We're hoping that they can allocate a percentage of their time to at least start to get a handle on what's available out there and which items that are in the comprehensive plan might be applicable to those different funding sources, and then start to connect the dots. But this is like day 2 on this, so we're not very far in.
So you're going from the comprehensive plan, looking at what areas to look for grants. Are you setting a priority for them to be towns and villages over grants at the county?
We haven't gotten that far.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Day 2. I think that's a good question down the runway a little bit. But right now, we don't have a thorough understanding of the grant world that's out there, because we sort of set all that stuff aside 4 years ago. And that was kind of like, we're not doing grants, so we're not doing grants. And so we just kind of stopped looking at it very carefully at that time.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing the language that requires us to do grant writing or assistance for the towns. I haven't seen that in my research.
There's no requirement. It's good shared services.
Mr. Stockton?
Having experience at the town level and realizing there's some advantages. I think it's critical that you are available as a resource, because a lot of these towns have no clue what they're getting into when you start talking. Everybody says, go for grants, go for grants. Oh, this is wonderful. There is a ton of stuff that's related to it, coming, happening, and thereafter. And these guys provide information that is so helpful when I started on all that. And now we've done several without them because they got us going in the first place. But it's vital that they are there to help. And I was just thinking, getting ready to talk to leadership Allegheny tomorrow, that if a town suddenly has a new supervisor and a new clerk at the same time, wow.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
so,
met with one of them this past week, by the way, so
And
I know their deer in the headlights look about that situation. They know they have projects that they need. They don't know the first steps even to turn to, so.
so our office to help them with just getting a handle on things is so valuable. Yeah, thank you.
Mr.
Yeah,
Finn?
I'm not debating that. I know Keir does a great job. He's got more on his plate than he really needs right now. So I appreciate his extra effort that he puts in, because he does do a great job. So I don't have a problem with that part of it. It's just that once you start down that road, we need to have parameters that explain to the towns exactly what they're responsible for and what we're responsible for. So, thank you, Keir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Mr. Healy?
Yes, and I believe also the tracking of the amount of time that goes into that, either formally or informally, only adds that we make sure that this is our part of it, the services we help to provide are distributed on a fair and equitable basis, and not, that none of our communities get overlooked.
So historically, on all of our services directly with the towns and villages, we don't necessarily go out and promote that we're doing things or available to do this. We understand that there weren't very many of us in the building, first of all, so we didn't want to get overwhelmed. But whatever it is, it's usually that they come to us and they call us and they have an issue, and we try to assist them in whatever makes the most sense for both sides. So we haven't been promoting it, nor have we been specifically saying, well, District 1's getting this and District 4 is getting that, or whatever. We haven't historically had to look at it that way. There hasn't been that much the last few years anyway going on. So this is kind of back in the world is swirling with a lot of grant money. Right now that train is mostly bypassing Allegheny County because there's basically no professional grant writing service in the county. And this is one small way that we can afford to assist those who do come to us to get some money back into our county.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there, Keir, and I understand it. But I just think it is our role to make those all areas aware, all our local governments aware of those opportunities, and to assist them all. Thank you.
I agree. And this, like I said, we haven't been actively trying to even track all the grant opportunities. If somebody sends us some general information, like there's program X, Y, and Z, I kick that out to everybody and their brother. But beyond that, that's been the extent of our grant writing outreach for the last couple of years.
And I usually kick it out to the areas I represent too when I get it from you, so thank you.
Okay. Do anybody have any other questions for Kier? Hearing none, Kier, thank you very much. I do have one. I do. I had it written down here. I want to go back to the branding, the videos. You've come in the past with some statistics and stats.
Right.
Do you have any for us today since
I do not.
you have ended them? Could you
Well,
share those
We're
with
in
us?
the last month, so
Right.
we'll have, for the next meeting, we'll be able to sort of give you a total summary of the last program from September till now at that point, and I'll show you the last video that was put together.
Okay.
But today I didn't have that info with me.
So when you come with the stats for the next time, you're going to come with an overall total?
I
Could you-
believe that's how it's been
But could you
reported all along.
also give us the monthly stats so we could see some trends going on?
I will try.
Okay.
The way the stuff is coming in isn't necessarily as clear as I would love.
You can request to have that by data points like that. Thank you.
Very good. Anybody else?
Thank you. Okay, next up is Craig Clark, Economic Development and Industrial Development Agency. He has a monthly report. You're going to see a little change on his monthly report, and he's highlighted some things in yellow. Craig, do you want to talk about the change?
Well,
to
since there's no more time, I'm done.
Are we out of time?
I'm teasing. No, we did restructure it a little bit, making sure that we are going through some strategic things, and my report was already in that format. There's one mistake I'll mention when we get going, but I will go through the yellow items. I try to highlight the changes. What I also try to do is not leave stuff off, even though, because a lot of these projects, as everyone knows, an economic development project may take 5 years or more. So I didn't want to lose things on the list. The Crossroads project, excuse me, which is primarily trying to work on a hotel and a couple of restaurants out there. CP&L Engineering has been working, and I brought this up at the IDA board meeting. They've completed most of their work out there, including working on utilities. They still have to work some with Friendship, but they know the Friendship water system very well. They looked at it in detail when we were talking about the other large project out there. They've done the wetland delineation. They've done environmental review. Survey work's complete. Geotechnical work's complete. And phase 1 environmental assessment is complete. The next step is to look at all that detail and then fine tune the concepts and also begin this traffic study and the full seeker process. And at the last meeting, it was brought up, and it makes sense to look at other options for sewer. That was just an option, an on-site sewer system. What may make more sense is to go to either Belmont or Friendship, and so they'll be estimating those costs as well, and then we can make a decision as to what makes the most sense for economic development at the site. So we should be pretty well sorted out of looking at it'll never be a final plan until we get a hotel developer, but enough to go ahead and start doing some work at the site so we can prepare the site.
Who will be going out and getting those comparative costs coming back?
CP&L, Clark Patterson.
Okay, thank you. That's what
They've already looked at, they've already started looking at both Belmont and Friendship. We know Belmont's closer, and as long as Belmont technically will work, that's probably the one to hook up at. We need to look at both areas, because obviously at one time they looked at the Friendship because we already put the water line from Friendship to Crossroads. And if you think about it, there are some advantages to do sewer and water in the same area if you're going to do true economic development. But that's something we can discuss. It's not very far down the road.
Madam,
Yes.
just a comment, and I'm sure you are.
Right.
It should be considered also which of those quarters would more greatly benefit from the addition of a sewer
Right, that's
system.
what you got to look at, is how many users, what can you help? The only thing is there is no water the other way, and that's why I'm just saying you need to look at both options. And the cost will obviously be much less to go to Belmont, but then you have to look at the system. Can Belmont handle it? Can Friendship handle it? So what's the total cost and what's the total benefit? You're correct. And then at the same time, Clark Patterson, because most engineering firms do, will be looking at the grant how would we get grant funds to help fund some of that? Because water and sewer particularly are very highly sought-after projects as far as funding right now from the state and federal government.
So can I ask a question?
Oh, sure.
And I know you don't have an answer for this, but do your best. Now that you've done all these studies, all right, so the next process, you're looking at, the engineering firms looking at the sewer and the water. Just kind of, how long do you think it would be a time frame before site-ready work could actually start?
Well, the site-ready work,
A
some of the
year,
work.
6 months?
Some of the work, obviously, I mean, those two things will not affect the road work. Those two things will not affect any other things that we can do on the site. I have not talked to Clark Patterson, Lee, but I would guess it's going to take another couple of months to get anything to the point where we're ready to put it out to bid.
Okay.
And
That's
then
what
we
I
have to
wanted
come
hear.
back before that to the board to say, how are we going to finance any of this? Because we've made a commitment, but then what does the commitment really mean? And you need to see plans and drawings and cost estimates before he makes a decision to go forward.
Okay. Yep, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're really at pre-engineering stage, but important stage. And along with that, I still have 3 potential developers. I just talked to one yesterday. The one thing we'll have to do, and I am going to be working with the IDA board, is putting together a package, what's available. And they made it really clear, like their developers, what is going to be available for assistance, not just the site development, but other incentives.
Mr. Fanton?
Yeah, is a water tank going to be part of that process?
It possibly will, or more probably will, I could say, because although we have plenty of water, some of the peak demand will not be able to be met, so it will probably be a small tank.
Okay, thank you.
Along that line, though, Friendship has also put in for a very large upgrade to their tanks as well. So that may change if we need anything on site. Any other questions at the crossroad? That's a big project and we're making progress. Slower than I'd like, but it's the way it goes when you're doing engineering. Arvos Lundstrom, we had a presentation at the last IDA board meeting. I would recommend and suggest, and they're more than willing to come in and talk to the board. I think at this stage, it's important to know what they're doing. I don't know what you think. What do you think, John? That presentation was pretty good, I thought. Because
maybe
they
we
have
can-
modified, going from a purely coal-fired type plant, the air preheaters, to 2 different product lines, primarily wind energy and also CO2 carbon capture. And by doing that, they've been able to potentially save 130 jobs and add probably 120. And that is a big deal, not just the number of jobs, but what they've done in transitioning. There's not many companies that have fully transitioned out of coal to something new that quickly. And I've been working with them for about 3 years. We've gotten ARC grants to help do their training, approaching $300,000 through the Alfred State College. And I've mentioned a number of times the work grant. There's another over $600,000 of training / other support that they have. So it's made a big difference. And they have put in a financial assistance application. And that's the one correction. We did already look at the application on May 12th, not June meeting, and it was approved. So we've already gone forward with that.
Mr. Fanton?
Yeah, their carbon capture operation, is that going well?
Yes, they've got their second prototype out, and they've actually delivered it. It was in California, I believe it was. And they're feeling pretty good about it, but it's not taken off as fast as they'd like. That goes. It takes a
Right.
while with a new
Exactly.
product. But I think it's very interesting to come in to show what they've been doing.
So they've had some success with that.
Yes, and it has been successful so
Very
far.
good.
So Craig, would you like to reach out to them and ask them if they'd like to come to the next P&D and give
Yes, they would more than likely,
I-
like to come. I just didn't know, I wanted to get the board's reading before that. But I think it'd be very interesting to find out what a company like that has done to transition and the impact that we've had on trying to make that work.
Why
and
don't
it
you
is
reach out
working.
and see if they would like to come to the next P&D meeting in June?
Okay. And they have a nice presentation. I think it went very well with the IDA.
All right, yep.
Other highlights on just the yellow stuff, if there's any questions, I don't want to miss something. We are still working with the Angel Fund in the business park. We do have a new small PV project in Independence coming up. That'll be 4 in Independence. We did a public hearing, which everyone supports the project down in the town. And so there'll be 4 different projects starting this spring, this summer, spring, probably summer now. It's already summer, isn't it? Summer out there. And we have continued to discuss the town of Alfred, and you're fairly aware of that, the large project out there. And it's moving, but it takes a while because they don't have all the approvals yet. So, and although not highlighted, just so an update, the LACAT wind project is still going forward. They're still anticipating starting sometime later this year. Anything on clean energy or any of those projects? Micro enterprise grant, as I've mentioned a number of times, that was mentioned actually at the meeting with all the new businesses. They, for some reason, like grants, and so hopefully we're going to get some grant money available over the summer. Those $170,000 we gave out made a big difference to 7 different companies, of which 3 were startups and 4 were existing companies. So. And we did put in for the $1 million to give out extra funds for the COVID impact. We have to do a little bit more work on that. They sent back some information. They want to know which companies are on the list that may be interested. We already gave them a survey, what was normal, and they came back, well, what companies are those 25 people? So we'll have to just do a little bit more digging.
So is that something you'll go out and try to find companies who are
We'll have to
interested
track
in
back
applying?
yeah, because we'll have to go ahead and go and do some other reach out. We did
Right.
it through and we know who did it, who replied, I think, pretty much, but now we got to go and actually get names of companies, not just the fact that they're interested. So, yeah, it's not like we're going to give them 25 names that have to be on the list. They want to
Right.
make sure there's enough interest so that they can give us $1 million to spend.
I was just wondering how you were going to go out and make the local businesses aware they could be applying for this.
Well, before I was pretty effective. We did just an article in the paper and through Facebook. We got more than enough responses.
Okay.
We'll do the same kind of thing. And I can reach out to some particular ones I know of.
Okay, Mr. Fanton?
Yeah, I just want to thank Craig for sticking with it. I know it's like pulling teeth sometimes to get these things to happen, so I appreciate your patience and our patience, and if we just keep going, we'll make it happen. So,
Well,
thank
having
you.
grant funds has been a goal for a long time, and now that the IDA will have some funds, we'll have some grant funds ourselves, some local funds. But getting the funds through the different federal and state agencies is the real way to go, because then we can leverage it more. Thank you. And $1 million will make a lot of difference to a lot of small companies. I wasn't here before, but Startup Allegheny, in April, we had a great event. This is under that whole thing about trying to make sure the 3 colleges know what's available and want to stay in the county to actually start up businesses and or live in the county. And we had a great event April 9th. Again, that was some really good ideas. I don't know if I sent you, but I can send you the link if anybody wants to see all the presentations. They did some really good job from the 3 colleges. And I think it's worthwhile. I have a short clip I can send you as a summary, and then a longer clip if you want to actually see the actual presentations.
Could this link be put on your webpage, and then you just send everybody there, and it's
Sure.
open to everybody?
We'll
to
put
see?
it on the short one I'll send to you, the long one I'll just put on the webpage. Because they were really good. They were really thoughtful. Anything from small startup pop-up type restaurants to a full biorefinery or bioenergy type thing. There are some pretty cool projects that the students thought up. Working today, we're submitting a RISE grant, which is a Rural Innovation Stronger Economy USDA grant, working with Alfred University, Alfred State, and Incubator Works. And we've been leading that. It's going to be hopefully we'll get that. We think we have a good shot at it. We got a positive read. Basically, it's coming up with innovation centers at all 3 centers so we can work with students and the communities on innovative ways to work with Alstom and Lundstrom and everybody else in between. So startups again, mostly helping the supply chain build locally, which is really important. And those are the items I highlighted, but I'm open to any questions on the list or any other list. Yes, Gary.
Yes, Gary?
Okay.
We'll let you come to the table.
Thank you. Couple of questions. One, I had the opportunity to stop by Franklinville the other day.
Right.
They're ripping and tearing over
Sure.
there. That's just as they said they would do.
Right.
It's good for them, but unfortunately not so good for us. That leads me to the question about the existing plant in Cuba. When they pull out, is that what's left going to be marketable?
We've talked to them when they were still talking to us about in the county, and I'm going to start that dialogue now that they've gotten groundbreaking. I've heard two things. They may still use it for cold storage, so they may not be leaving. And the other issue is they were talking to myself and the community of Cuba on repurposing that facility and/or tearing it down if that's what Cuba wanted. So really what it comes down to is what Cuba and we can work out as a deal on the building if they actually exit. But the last I heard, they may not exit completely. They may use it as cold storage.
And another item, the building up at the airport that, I forgot the name of the company that.
Oh, PM Research?
Yeah,
PM Research?
PM Research.
Right.
Have they, now it's been about better than 3 years, I think,
Correct.
since they took over. Have they, other than subletting part of it to the engineering division?
Which kept Curtis Wright in the area.
Right.
Correct.
Have they done anything about upping their employment?
They have, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I can bring them to the next meeting. They have actually, there's been two increases up there. One was the increase because of Curtis Wright, what came in, and the other increase, they've also been hiring more people. And they've actually changed their model quite a bit. The two brothers used to do everything. They have hired some executive type staff as well as workers. They've hired both at both levels. And I don't remember off the top of my head the numbers, but I have them in my office. I'll bring those. Yes, they have expanded.
Thank you.
And actually, they're doing very, very well, so that's a good thing.
Anybody else have any questions for Craig? If not, thank you, Craig.
No problem. Thank you. If you do have questions, either call me or let me know.
Okay. Okay, so moving on, do we have anything for old business today? Do we have anything for new business? How about good of the order?
Everyone?
Yes?
We're going to have Lundstrom come in and give us a program. And I mentioned this once before. I mentioned it was during the previous board term, that I think we should open up a forum and invite our local businesses or other partners to come in, either on a board day or on a committee day, and where it would be once every 6 months, invite somebody to come in and put on a program for us to tell us what their business does, and also, obviously today, since it's all these things are broadcasted, it'd be open to the public. I think it'd be very interesting and informative to do that on a regular basis. So that's my good of the order.
I think that's a very good idea. So we could maybe start working on a list of some of these businesses and see if we can get some scheduled for upcoming. I think that's a great idea. Thank you, Mr. Healy. Is there anything else for the good of the order? If not, I'll ask for adjournment and make a motion.
I'll make a motion. We
Thank you, Mr. Sayo. Do we have a second? I second. Thank you. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Carried.